silent mode.
Okay, once again, welcome to this webinar regarding InTouch and Situational Awareness. My name is Felix Persson and I will be the speaker for today. And to my aid here I have Helen helping me out. Before we start the webinar with InTouch, I would just like to show you a page from our global customer support site. If you have not done so, I would like you to register to this support site. Here you find a lot of useful information like tech notes and videos and so on. During my presentation, I will have a few tech notes that I will talk about. I will not say the detail, we'll just go through the tech note number. And when you have registered to this site, you also have the possibility to search for these tech notes in the support site. Now, moving on to InTouch 2014 R2. This is the agenda for today. We will make a quick look at what operating systems that we're supporting and also the different SQL versions. We will look at the modern application, and we will look into the graphical toolbox from the Orchestra graphics. I will talk a little about this conversion of the InTouch windows, and then we will go through a couple of styles which helps you to standardize your application. We will also look into the Situational Awareness library. There are a few new symbols added to that library. So the operating systems. When we look at this for 2014 R2, we can see on the client side that we are supporting the operating system from Windows 7, Service Pack 1, all the way up to Windows 8.1. And we support both the standard editions and Pro, Enterprise, and Data Centers. If we go to the embedded systems, we support only the 32-bit operating system on that one. On the server operating system side, we are supporting at this moment Windows 2008 R2 Service Pack 1 down to 2012 R2. And this is also in the standard, professional, enterprise, and the data centers. Microsoft has released now Windows 10. It is not in our support list yet. It will be there probably with the following releases. You can go into our customer support site and look in the compatibility matrix. And then you will see when it's time for the support for Windows 10. Since InTouch 2014 R2, when you run modern applications, you also need to install a SQL server. And if you don't have one, then the system will install an Express version for you. And the additions we support so far is Windows 2008 Service Pack 3 and down to the latest version of SQL, that is the 2014 release. We're supporting both the 32 and 64-bit versions, except when it comes to the Express. Then it's just the 32-bit version that is supported. Moving on to the InTouch modern application. We released InTouch 2014 R2 in January this year. And with this release, we also got a new application type, and that is called the modern application. We will look at this modern application, and what we basically did with the modern application was moving the Orchestra graphics into the traditional InTouch. Orchestra graphics have been available before, but then you had to work with application server, or you had to use the managed application from application server. And we did a survey to our customers and asking them about InTouch. And these are some of the results we got from them. And saying that they can do what they need with InTouch, but they also like to have orchestra graphics. But it is a bigger learning curve to go in and learn about all application server features like view engines, Win platforms, and so on. So they don't want to spend a lot of training just to make small changes when you are in the field. Also, when you work with these managed applications, you are basically working with two development environments. First of all, you're logging into the Orchestra IDE, and then you need to work with Window Maker to create your graphics. With the modern InTouch application, we are moving the Orchestra graphics directly into Window Maker. So when we start with InTouch and want to create a new application, you're basically getting a choice of saying that you have two types of applications that you can create. The typical one is the legacy type that you are used to, the standard one, the classic standard standalone InTouch application. And then we now have the modern application, where you have the possibilities of using the Orchestra graphics. In the background, it will create a small database where all these graphics configuration are stored. You also have the possibility to migrate some of your applications already that you have done if you want to have them into a modern application. If you want to do that, I would suggest you to look at the Tech Note 723, and there you will find more detailed instructions of how to do that. Still, we have the possibility, as we had before, to also publish applications, and now we can also import and export applications through the AAPKG file. So what are the benefits when we're looking at Orchestra graphics? What is the main benefits here? Well, if we start by looking at InTouch memory tags and IO tags, these are the ones that you need to buy a license for. So if you combine all your memory tags and IO tags, then you have a total sum of how much you need to buy a license. If you use custom properties on your symbols, they will not cost you any license money. So it's only the traditional InTouch tags that will cost you license. You can use as much custom properties as you want, and you can also use variables within the scripts without having any additional license fee. With the symbols that you create, you also get the reusability and change propagation. If you create a symbol, a template symbol, you use it in several places inside your application, and then there is a request for a change, or there is a correction that you have to do. You just go into the template, do the correction, and then everywhere using this symbol, it will be automatically updated. So you're saving in some engineering hours here. There are more animations available with Orchestra graphics than before. We also have the possibility to enforce standards. When we look at, we will look at that later on with the element styles and also the numeric format styles. And we now also have the possibility to use vector-based graphics. So you can resize your symbols. And of course, we also have the possibility to use .NET scripting inside these Orchestra symbols. When we open Window Maker now, we will have a new menu in the Window Maker. And here we have our Orchestra Graphics toolbox. From this toolbox, you can create new symbols, or if there is a symbol that is almost fulfilling your needs, maybe you have 80% of what you need, you can simply duplicate it and then continue to work with that symbol and modifying accordingly to your needs. And we also have the traditional ones that you can delete the symbol and rename it and so on and so forth. And when you want to use it, you can either insert it through the symbol library, or you can drag it onto the HMI itself. From Window Maker, we can also select the wizard options. So when you create a symbol, you can do that with the help of a wizard. We will also talk about that later on in this presentation. Custom properties. Each symbol that you use can host custom properties. And these custom properties can be in two different modes. You can either have them as a private custom property, and then it is only available inside the symbol itself. Or you can make it a public custom property. Making it public allows you to adding external references to this symbol. And adding the external reference is also done from Window Maker itself. For 2014 R2, we also have a new custom property, and that is related to Wonderware Historian. You can now summarize values, aggregated values, and there are a few other things you can do with that custom property. If you have an application already and you want to reuse some of your previous built windows or forms, you can do that. And you can also convert them to orchestra graphics. Before you do that, I would suggest that you look to TechNote 1070, and that will guide you through how to create these orchestra graphics. When you do it, the system will also automatically make a backup of that window before it does the conversion, so you're not losing the content that you had in it. When you're doing the conversion and it is finished, you will also get a detailed report saying what elements in the window that was successfully converted and what elements that were not successfully converted. If you have some ActiveX controls, they will, of course, they will stay in place. They will not be removed. But it's a good idea to look into this report and see the results. Additional elements that were added to the orchestra graphics are connectors and connection points. Connectors are lines that connect the graphical elements by attaching these ones to the connection points. We now can make flow diagrams easier, and now changing it is much easier. If you move one box, the line will automatically follow. It will not need to be redrawn. Our new situational awareness symbols are also configured with these connection points. So when you move them around on your screen, you will not lose the connection to the other symbols. Regarding standardization in InTouch, we now have the possibility to use element styles. So here we can define, for instance, a title. What do we want the title to look like? What font do we want to have? What size do we need? And also the color. And everywhere we use this in our application, where we want to have text, we can also select that we want to have this title. So if we need to go in and do some changes later on, we go into the configuration page and only change in one place where we change the application styles. And all the text associated with the titles will be updated with this new information. There is a set of already predefined element styles in InTouch. They are used by the Situational Awareness. But if you want to create your own, there is also a couple of user-defined styles that you can use. The predefined, you can, if you want to, you can also change them if you want to. If you want to change the size of the title, it's okay to do that. Just keep in mind that the Situational Awareness library is using these element styles. The numeric format styles is also a standardization part. Because here we can say, how do I want my values to be displayed? If I have a display animation and I want to show a value between 0 to 1, what's my precision? What do I want to have? That can be set from one place inside InTouch. There is also a set of already predefined format styles, but you can naturally also create your own by going into the user-defined styles. On the symbol itself, when you go to value display, then you select underneath the text format what element style you want to use for this value display. Another powerful instrument with orchestral graphics is the symbol wizard. Here we can draw a symbol and we can make that as a base. Instead of drawing two symbols that look identical, but they have different indications regarding high alarm and high alarm, you can create one symbol containing both these alarm indicators. Later on, when you want to use the symbol in InTouch, you drag it from the graphic toolbox onto the page itself, and then you configure the wizard options from InTouch. From a drop-down box, you will select if you want to have a high-level alarm or if you want to have the high-level alarm feature enabled. All the situational awareness components in the library, they are using this symbol wizard. From the situational awareness, we have also got a few more symbols added to our library. In the equipment toolset, we have a set of valves that have been introduced. The next slide will give you a look at how they can look when you configure them through the wizard options. And then we also have the trend tools, single pen and multi-pen. These single pen and multi-pen trend tools can be combined together with an ordinary analog meter showing the value. That is also configured by this wizard option. From these few valves that we had in our situational awareness library, we can create a whole set of valves, depending on how we do the configuration from the symbol wizard. In June, we released the new patch for InTouch 2014 R2. Besides having a lot of bug fixes and corrections, we also got some new features to this. We now have the possibility to import script functions, DLLs, into the modern application. It could be done previously, but it was quite extensive work to do that. Now it's more straightforward. We improved the user-friendliness and usability by enabling you to rename the user-defined element styles and also the numeric format styles. We have the custom connection points added. We put that into our situational awareness symbols to save you time when connecting the valves to the lines when you draw your P&IDs. So in short, InTouch 2014 R2 is very feature-rich. We have a lot of new functions with InTouch 2014 R2, but the most important part here is that we continue to have InTouch. We are looking at our tradition of the ease of use of InTouch. Next part of this presentation will be around the situational awareness concept. From Wonderware, we promote this graphical user design philosophy. You might also have heard it in another name, and then it might be under high performance HMI. But from a Wonderware point of view, we call it situational awareness. And what made us look into this? Well, if we have a look back a few years, we can see that the evolution of the HMIs. In the 70s, we had a lot of buttons and switches in the control rooms, and light bulbs, and then in the 80s, we were starting to get more digitized. Then we were putting in the information on a computer and also displaying the information for the operator on a screen. As we move along to the 90s and then to 2000, we were more and more getting into what they call the video game era. We are putting a lot of information on the HMIs that are not really relevant to the operator himself. Now, we at Wonderware, we have also been part of this. On one screen, you'll see our reactor demo. And there you can see that we have a lot of big symbols on that screen that really doesn't give the operator much information. They're just occupying the screen and making it hard for operator to read. So the next step with situation would be situational awareness. If you do just a quick Google today and look at what is HMI, this is kind of the result you will get. You have a lot of different HMIs with no real standardization. You have some are from P&IDs and some are very colorful. So if we look at them and then we try to, what do they all have in common? Well, first of all, they're very colorful. There is big symbols on the display itself that don't give much information to the operator. There are a lot of animations. We're using a lot of 3D models and glass effects. And also the screen layouts are often based on the process and instrumentation diagrams. We have many different formats, patterns, and practices. We also present data as text, raw data, without any context. This is an example of the situational awareness demo we have at Wonderware. Here we are showing you what we think of it, our point of the concept. We are limiting the amount of colors that we are using. We have a gray background, and we're moving towards analog meters. The picture itself is very gray and boring, and that's intentional. Because the only time we want to introduce bright colors is when we have an alarm. Something is not correct or something is wrong with the process. Then we introduce a bright color, and then this makes it easier for the operator to just have a quick look at the operator interface. Is it gray? Good, and there's no problem. Do we have color? Okay, then I need to take some action. The symbols shown here are also, they're all in the situational awareness Awareness library. You just need to configure them through the wizard options that are in. Oh, that's pretty simple. Concept is not only about colors and animations, it's also how you want to structure your displays. For us, we have decided that we want to have 4 levels of display structure. The first one is a area-wide, and here you can show like KPIs, summary, status information. If you want some more detailed information, then you go to the second level. Here you operate your equipment, and then you navigate to other parts of the plant. If you go down one more level to level 3, then you get real down into detail. Now you're down to the P&ID charts. Here you have all your inputs and outputs. You can force your values on analog values, and also you can have a look at your PIDs. The next level, level 4, is where we want to put all the information that are help screens, trend pages, etc., and so on. You can have your alarm screens. But for ordinary navigation, you usually go from level 1 down to level 2 and then to level 3, and then you have level 4 on a different navigation. This one displays just an example of what it could look like. You put your overview, level 1, on the big screens. Then down on the operator desk, the operator has possibility to go in on level 2, where he is actually starting and stopping pumps and equipment. And then he can also go down to the P&IDs and do the forcing of the values. Alarming is also a big part of the situational awareness. We have now moved from having 999 priorities down to having 4 severities. Every situational awareness symbol that we have in our library has a alarm border. This alarm border has triple coding. You have a specific color for it, for the severity. You also have a unique shape for the severity, and also an identifier. And when looking at alarms, you should also keep in mind the response time for the alarms. So you're not flooding your operators with critical alarms when they could be high. You have to look at what is the response time for them. Next information, the next part, is how we present it. What do we do with the data that we get from the PLCs? How do we present that to the operator in a good way? What we usually do is that we put up the value on a display. This is data without context. How do we evaluate this data? How far is this from the set point? Are we getting close to any alarm limit? Or are we actually operating in the normal range? For an experienced operator, this might be very easy to understand, but if you are not that experienced, or if you just want to go in and have a quick look at the operator interface, you need to go in and evaluate each and every value on the screen. With situational awareness, we have gone back to the analog meters. With these meters, it is easier now to make visual representations of what is the process value, where is my set point, And then I can also insert my alarm limits. I can also have a range in here saying that the process value may move within this range. So I don't really need to show the actual value, 989, if I don't want to. That value can be shown when we are getting out of range, and then that will help the operator. The symbol library that we have in InTouch, we have about 200 and plus symbols designed specifically for situational awareness. This is, of course, now included with the valves that we have for this release. And they can be used as they are, or if you want to change them, you are free to do so. You can go into the symbol, derive it, and then add your own features to the symbol. If you're interested in knowing more about high-performance HMI or situational awareness, here are some references you can have a look at. There are a few books. We also have some white papers from Wonderware, and you can also go into our YouTube channel and look at the situational awareness. When we summarize situational awareness, I would like to point out that it is not just a symbol library. The important part here is it's a design philosophy. If we want to increase operator awareness and not fill the screens with large symbols that don't make any sense to the operators. And also that we create the displays regarding to who's logged in. If we have an operator, he might have one need, and if we have a maintenance guy logging in, then the pages should look a bit different, and that will cover his need. That is all for the webinar today. If you have any questions, please dial *6. You can either ask them directly to me, or you can type them in the chat.
We will unmute all the phones instead, so hang on a second.
The conference is now in talk mode.
Is it true that the memory tags are included in the license calculation?
No. Any more questions?
We don't have any more questions now here on the line. Feel free to send us an email if you have any further questions. Thank you for your participation today, and our next webinar will be on the 22nd of September, and it will be about new reports. So thank you very much, and have a good day.